Hello everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion dinosaurs and monsters. And in this video today, we're getting a behind-the-scenes look, you could say, on Godzilla vs. Shimo, I do say. Now, while this movie monster animation time-lapse is away, we'll be learning about the lore, one could say, on Godzilla x Kong today, I do say. Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire has been in theaters for about 3 weeks now upon this video's recording, with a almost universal praise from most audiences. As the 5th entry in the Monsterverse, Legendary ups their game with more monster scenes than ever before. There's so much action and world building in this film, you become truly immersed in the world of the Titans. However, there are so many details in this film, there's probably a few in there that you may have missed. And probably being the most important is at the ending. While in the offset it looks simple enough, there are actually plenty of themes and subtext that help give the film more meaning, which is an aspect to probably no one's surprise that a lot of the critics unfortunately have missed. Now, it goes without saying there's going to be some spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the film yet, well, I think it's time for you to go do that. And if you haven't seen it yet and personally don't care about spoilers, hopefully I can convince you to go see this movie. Anyways, without any further delays, let's talk about some movie monsters today. The film opens with the Hollow Earth, where we're reintroduced to Kong, as he explores this new and unfamiliar territory. Ever since Skull Island, Kong has been looking for his own kind, and makes it his own personal mission to search the Hollow Earth for them, dropping whatever it is he's doing at the slightest sign of any other Kongs. But initially, he is fooled by a parrot frog, whose calls happen to sound very eerily similar to his own. In the following scene, you immediately see how lonely Kong truly is, and you can't help but root for him to have his dream fulfilled. Because Kong's parents were killed by skull crawlers when he was an infant, forced to Skull Island following a war with the Godzilla species that the Scar King initially incited. And since Skull Island, we've seen him looking up at the stars, thinking about the wider world, and how there must be more of his species out there somewhere. Not to mention how he would sit and stare at his own reflection for long periods of time, because sadly, that's the closest he's ever gotten to company with his own species. This plot thread continues in Godzilla vs. Kong, where Gia states there might be more down in the Hollow Earth, where he leaps into the portal in hopes of one day he will encounter more of his own species, so he can essentially be with his family. Well, after 3 years of exploring, he discovers a new region of the Hollow Earth that takes him into uncharted territory. And there, he encounters a young member of his species known as Suko. And he's definitely nervous with his first approach, but then, just before their hands meet, he bites Kong, then alerts his group to ambush him. But Kong fights them off, then forces Suko to take him to their home, so he can meet the rest of his kind. In the dark caverns of the Hollow Earth, Kong finds his species forced into slavery, mining for resources and moving mountain-sized blocks. It's a horrifying sight for Kong, who can't imagine the type of pain that they're experiencing. He helps one of the injured ones up before he's met face to face with one of the guards who screams at him, just before Kong delivers a well-deserving punch, which unfortunately alerts the Scar King, the tyrannical ruler that watches over the land, enticing fear through pain and torture. He lands in front of Kong, mocking him just before kicking Suko's guardian into the lava, burning him alive. And that's all Kong needs to see to challenge him to a fight to try and free his people. Sadly, Scar gains the upper hand quickly with his Bone Whip. Then once Kong finds the strength to overpower him, Scar King releases his Ice Titan, Shimo. Unfortunately all chained up, then Scar King uses a crystal that's telepathically linked to Shimo, making her attack Kong with her Frostbite Blast, making Kong receive a lot of life-threatening injuries, who is forced to retreat from the scene. He returns with Suko to tell Gia he lost home. A sad development following the upbeat ending of Godzilla vs. Kong, where he instates he found home. The mission is then abundantly clear. He must free his species from the rule of Scar King. It echoes the story of Moses in the book Exodus, in which he frees his people from slavery and on to a brighter future. The connection is made even stronger when Kong and Zuko seemingly recreate the creation of Adam, which is reflecting how Kong is aiming to create a new society in his own image, one without fear or hate. It even has overtones of the Shakespeare play Hamlet, where the prince is exiled by the land by a jealous king, before mustering the courage to return and take the crown back to free his people. But to free them, he requires the help of evolved Godzilla to really stand toe-to-toe with Shimo and Scar. So he heads to Cairo and roars into the sky to alert Godzilla of his presence. And after battling tooth and claw, nearly losing the fight in the process, he is saved by Mothra, who tells Godzilla the Hollow Earth needs his help. So Godzilla, Mothra, and Kong engage in an epic battle against Scar King and Shimo, and Scar King's Titan Ape army. They go back and forth, helping each other out take out the ape soldiers one by one, until the battle reaches its way to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Everyone seems fairly evenly matched up until Zuko uses Kong's axe to destroy the crystal that controls Shimo. No longer under the command of Scar, Shimo takes her sweet revenge, freezing the once Scar King solid. And amped up Kong leaps into the air before smashing him into a million pieces. And then Kong lets out a victory roar, ridding the world of this evil titan. Shimo, now free of the abusive clutches of Scar King, is guided back to the Hollow Earth by Kong. When he arrives to the lair where all the slaves are kept, left awaiting their ruthless leader's return, but they only see Kong left standing, with the little ones Zuko and the Ice Titan they were meant to fear. Except they're here to spread peace and guide them into a better future, leaving pain and hatred behind. And they all cheer, knowing that the worst years are now behind them. As for the G-Man, he returns to the Roman Colosseum for a well-needed rest, till he's needed once again. And quick fun fact, it was recently revealed in the novelization that the reason he sleeps here is because it reminds him of the old temples that he was once worshipped in, until we blew them up. Well, maybe this isn't a fun fact now that I think about it. Besides that, it's a really pungent ending that's really good for Kong since he doesn't get happy endings very often. Here he gets to be a leader along with other members of his kind, after being alone for so long. Longing to meet the hands of those just like him, he has finally found home. This isn't a theme only found on Kong's side of the story too, since Gia spends the entire film battling against herself and who she believes she is. She feels lost, out of place in the Western world, and when she's welcomed by the Hollow Earth Iwis, she feels at home and accepted by her people. But she understands her true home is with her family. Her mother, Eiley Andrews. It's an extremely touching part of the story, which I'm sure a few people had a tear-jerking moment over. There's a theme reflecting the loss that some people may feel when taken from their culture. They feel like a part of them is missing, and how finding it and reintroducing yourself to a lost part of your history helps you feel whole again. That is why Gia and Kong are the beating heart of this story. It gives this film more heart and soul. The Scar King kept the Kongs in chains for so long, as well as Shimo, being abused, tortured, assaulted, and so much more horrible things. For thousands of years, he represents the very worst of mankind, of both our past and our present. Our look into the darkest of history and personifies it. It takes a good individual with a good heart and a kind soul to truly lead them to a better and more hopeful future. It most definitely feels like an epic story of biblical proportions. A tale that was passed down through generations about the Kong that became king and freed his kind from oppression. It is most definitely a great ending that unfortunately I think most critics aren't even bothering to consider. It's actually quite meaningful when you sit and look below the surface of the epic, awesome monster fights. Now, I know that's a lot easier said than done considering there's a lot of dumb, awesome monster battles in this movie. But at its core, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire is a special film that I personally believe has left a very meaningful impression on the franchise's 70th anniversary. But what did you think of Godzilla X Kong, the new empire? And what do you think could happen in the follow-up? Let me know in the comments below. Now, hopefully you've enjoyed this video today on this special behind-the-scenes look on my latest animation, I say, on Godzilla vs. Shimo, I do say. So if you enjoyed this content today, be sure to smash that like button as hard as Kong smashed the Scar King at the end of Godzilla X Kong. And well, if you're new here and you've made it this far, probably best you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new content, because I post daily shorts and usually do one video per week, with the occasional live stream where you can see me do my stop motion animations, as well as how I make my characters. And if you'd like to see more, well, of this type of content, be sure to check out the post description below, so you will find links to this animation and so much more. And just for a quick point of reference to how much work actually goes into this type of content, this animation took over 4,000 photos and approximately a month to make. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if any. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.